It's amazing how this room fills up by 10 o'clock. It's very nice to see everybody. Hello and welcome. I'm Judy Robison. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm helping Reverend Levewood today as your worship leader here at Accotink Unitarian Universalist Church. As we begin today, I invite you to silence your phone, close your other windows on the computer, take a deep breath, and center yourself for worship. We open and welcome to the ancestral people of this land, acknowledging that our church, like all of Burke, rests on the unceded territory of the Manahoac tribe of the Great Sioux Nation. We seek healing and realization of justice with the people of this land who live on and their descendants and the present-day members of the Monacan Indian Nation, the Patawomac Indian Tribe of Virginia, and the Piscataway Indian Nation. We honor the ancestors as we move toward healing so that all together shall one day know full justice. And in that spirit, we begin our service today in the service of something larger than our individual selves, the spirit of community.
There are three ways in which one can deal with an injustice. One can accept it without protest. One can seek to avoid it. One can resist the injustice nonviolently. To accept it is to perpetuate it. Bayard Rustin.
Welcome to Accotink Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Sheila Doles. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm happy to be your worship associate today. This congregation is a welcoming and inclusive community that seeks to create a more just and compassionate world. If you're new to Accotink and would like to talk more about this church, just about anybody here can tell you about us. Our greeters, our minister, myself, or anyone with a cross-stitch name tag can help you with anything you'd like to know. Whether you're a longtime member, a newcomer, or something in between, we encourage you to stay for our social hour, online and in person, immediately after this service. We're so delighted that you decided to join us today.
But right now, we're going to change up the order of service a little bit. We'll begin with a responsive reading. This is number 442 in your hymnal, or it's in the insert in your order of service. This reading is titled, "We Bid You Welcome" by Richard Gilbert, number 442. I will read the words in block letters, and you may answer with the words in italics. We bid you welcome, who come with weary spirit seeking rest. We bid you welcome, who come with hope in your heart.
Who come with anticipation in your step, who come proud and joyous.
We bid you welcome, who are seekers of a new faith.
Who come to probe and explore, who come to learn.
We bid you welcome, who enter this hall as a homecoming.
Who have found here room for your spirit, who find in the people a family.
Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are on your journey. This is a special lay-led service on the theme of who gets us through, who helps us thrive, and how we need each other. This service features reflections from some of our own AUUC members. In a moment, we'll be hearing from Warren McLaine, Dick Robison, and Jenn Carlson.
I'm Araceli Scarmay, and this is for Estefany, 3rd grade, who made me a card. Elephant on an orange line underneath a yellow circle, meaning sun. 6 green vertical lines with color all from the top, meaning flowers. The first time I peel back the 5 squares of Scotch tape Unfold the crooked crease fold of art class paper. I am in my living room. It is June. Inside of the card, there is one long word, and then Estefani's name. Los Furry, Estefani. Los Furry? Los Furry, the scientific Latinate way of saying hibiscus. Los Furry, a direction as in, are you going north, south, east, west, Los Furry? I try over and over to read the word out loud. Los Furry, Lo is Furry, Los Furry, Los Furry. What is this word? I imagine using it in sentences like, man, I have to go back to the house, I forgot my Los Furry. Or, there's nothing better than rain, hot rain, open windows with music, and a tall glass of Los Furry. Or, how are we getting to Pittsburgh? Should we drive or take the Los Furry? I have lived 4 minutes with this word, not knowing what it means. It is the end of the year. I consider writing my student, Estefani, a letter that goes, to the brilliant Estefani. Hola, querida. I hope that you are well. I've just opened the card that you made me, and it is beautiful. I really love the way you filled the sky with birds. I believe that you are chula, chulita, and superfly. Yes, the card is beautiful. I only have one question for you. What does the word Los Furry mean? I tried the word again. Los Furry, Los Furry, Los Furry. I try the word in Spanish. Los Furry, Los Furry, Los Furry. And then slowly, Lo is for everybody. Lo is for everybody. Love is for everybody. Love is for everybody. Love, love, love everybody. Love everybody. Love, love is love. Everybody, everybody is love. Love, love for everybody. For love is everybody. Love is for everybody. Love, love, love for body. Love body. Body is love. Love is body. Everybody is love. Is every love? For every love is love. For love, everybody love, love. Love, love for everybody. Love is for everybody.
For an interview with the poet.
Yeah. So, good morning, by the way. This morning we are going to finish up our month of love and make cards that are entitled Love Is, to go along with our beautiful video poem by Araceli Gourmet. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome our very own AUUC's Warren McLaine to share with us.
One of the dramatic moments of my life occurred in 1980. I didn't feel loved or supported at the time because I was unconscious. I do realize how significant it was. I had been dealing with stomach ulcers for a number of years. And in 1977, while I was in Charleston, I had an incident, and the doctor came out and told my wife, better think about who you're going to contact because he may not survive. I did survive, and what I'm talking about is 2 years or 3 years later, and I was in the Pentagon. I was assigned to the Pentagon, and I had gone to a remote location in the Pentagon, up on the 5th floor, and I bled out, and I collapsed, and someone, an angel I suppose, took human form, came and dragged me out, called the medical people. They gave me 5 units of whole blood. Then I went to the hospital and the doctors treated me and I survived. Later on that year, I went to the hospital and they performed an operation that fixed me forever, so I'm grateful for that. So what's the lesson of all that? Well, certainly I was supported by some unknown person who saved me. Certainly I was supported by the medical people who attended me. Certainly I was supported by the doctors who saved me. What I take from it, though, is I'm grateful for life, because life is so important. And I got to see my son, who was 2 years old at the time, and I remember we went to Verklick Park, and he loved that train, and we rode that train together. And I lived to see my children grow up, and I lived to see my grandchildren. It was wonderful. So every morning, I am grateful for life. Now, at other times, there are less dramatic moments. I am always grateful to my wife when she brings me coffee in the morning. I am grateful for being part of the Soul Matters group, who we all listen to each other, and we listen without offering advice. We just active listening. It's so good to be supported in that way. Another time I remember, and it's special to me, I was down in Norfolk visiting our son and his family, and that night my son came in, tucked me in, and said, "Dad, I love you." So I'm grateful for being alive. I'm grateful. I try to be kind. I try to serve others as I can, and I am grateful for life.
Thank you, Warren. And now I invite Dick Robison.
I'm not sure how it happened that I'm standing up in front of you today. I suppose it's a hazard of being married to a worship associate. For those of you who don't know me, I've been a member of AUUC since 1998. I've been chair of the worship committee, program council, currently buildings and grounds committee. I've served on the board. I was the financial advisor, been a member of the endowment committee, and I co-chaired the selection committee for Reverend Scott. In the previous life, I was an Air Force pilot, a squadron commander, and airlift operations officer in Bosnia and Somalia. I've never worn my heart on my sleeve. I'm not known as Mr. Sensitivity for nothing. I don't wring my hands over problems or setbacks, and I rarely seek help even when I should. So when I was asked to talk about a time someone helped me through a particularly difficult time, or when someone in my life saw a gift and helped me nurture it, I was at a loss. Frankly, I still am. My troubles pale in comparison to many of yours, so I'm embarrassed to even bring them up, but I suppose there are lessons even in small battles. In the years I've been a member of AUUC, I've dealt with 2 difficult times. The first of these was when I had both feet rebuilt as a result of my rheumatoid arthritis. Who knew? I spent several months living in a recliner and bathing in a sink. It was hard at times, but it was never life-threatening or anything more than inconvenient. I'm embarrassed to even mention it, but my AUUC family did support me. I got silly pajamas and games. I got visits to occupy my time, phone calls, and other activities to relieve boredom. I didn't have to ask for support. It just happened, and I appreciated it. The second case was when my daughter lost her twin sons at 22 weeks. We were devastated, of course, but I felt my role was to support my daughter. I appreciated the support of friends, but I needed to support my daughter and not grieve for myself or for the loss of the babies. Life is sometimes cruel. There's one more group that I think is unusual and should be acknowledged. Before I joined AUUC, a member of the congregation committed suicide. No one knew he was struggling. So some of the men in the congregation formed a support group. Every few months we get together and we share what's going on in our lives. Many of our shares are joys, but a few are concerns of weighty proportion. If you'd like more information about this, please talk to me after the service. Regarding people who have seen a gift in me and nurtured it, perhaps that concept is a little grand. I did have special mentors in my career in the Air Force. I was a Green Second Lieutenant when I was assigned to a job in our Standardization and Evaluation section in the Hurricane Hunters. I was able to listen to check rides and flight debriefings and soaked up tidbits of information. One day, Ancient Ed Culver, so known because he looked like he was about 100 years old, he probably was about 45. But he was a senior master sergeant, and he noticed my interest. And so he invited me to a hangar where we spent weeks taking apart engines and seeing how they worked. He also taught me how to work with enlisted crew members, many of whom were many years my senior. I owe him a great debt. Later, I was fortunate to be assigned to Major General Richard Trescoma as executive officer. General Trescoma mentored me, teaching me how to write effective messages and staff summaries, with special emphasis on what not to do. I hope I emulated his leadership style. I did not seek his support, but he offered it freely, and I thank him for doing so during a formative time in my career. We joined AUUC because we liked the 7 principles of the minister, Reverend Becky Edmondson Lang. She gave thought-provoking sermons. I'm not religious, but I liked the Sunday morning lecture series and the opportunity to discuss issues with our new friends at AUUC. I felt the loving community that has always been central to AUUC, meeting early friends such as Ruth and John Simmons, Chuck Jones, and Dick Foster. Joe Nearhead, another early friend, convinced me to join the worship committee. His wife, Sue, became one of Judy's best friends. Later, as program council chair, I worked closely with the leadership of the church to explore new ideas in church administration. Pete Fontenay knew where all the skeletons were buried, and Sue Nearhead and Herb Bartlett had a knack for organization. Later, when we had to find a new minister, I volunteered to help. From that endeavor came my closest friendships. Those expanded to include new friends in our Monday night burger group and involvement in numerous auctions so ably led by Ken Heller. My point is that I did not set out to find love and support during difficult times, but I found comradeship through getting involved and helping and developing long-lasting relationships in less stressful times with people who are now very dear to me. I don't often seek their care, but I know if I asked, they would be there for me and for my family. So I urge you to get involved. I have no doubt you will find more than you expect, and I thank you, my friends, for your love and support.
Good morning. I'm Jenn Carlson. My pronouns are she and her. I'm not usually up here anymore, which is unusual because I used to be a worship associate and I was up here a lot, but I've got some wonderful worship associates who are usually up here and I'm usually in the back. So this is a change for me today. I also wanted to start by giving you a little bit of a content warning. I am going to be talking about a mental health crisis that I went through, and I will reference suicide, so if there's anyone who doesn't want to talk about that or doesn't want to hear about that, I invite you to disengage in any way that you feel safe for the next minute or two. I would like to start with a quote, paraphrase from the Talmud, that I read when I first visited the U.S. Holocaust Museum and stuck with me for decades. Whoever saves one life saves the world entire. Some of you know that I went to a military college, and there was a time when I was about 19 when I entered a very dark place. There were many things that led to it. There was a breakup, struggling to succeed at my academic goals, the impending loss of my Air Force scholarship, and I ended up with some health problems on top of it all. I cracked. My brain was telling me that there was no way out of this situation. All of my childhood coping mechanisms failed in this new environment, confronting what up to then had been the biggest problems I had ever had to face as a person. So I made the decision to unalive myself. I did not succeed. One of my roommates found me and had me rushed to the hospital. Once I had gotten the immediate help that I needed for my mental health emergency, a decision had to be made on who I was going to be released to. I was an adult, but I was also in college, and my military college was pretty strict about things. My mother was not an option. She was embroiled in a messy divorce that stretched from Germany to Korea, literally. I was also still estranged from my father at this point, and I didn't have any other close family members who would and could take in a young adult in crisis. Author and activist Bell Hooks once wrote, "Many of us learn as children that friendship should never be seen as important as family ties. However, friendship is the place in which a great majority of us have our first glimpse of redemptive love and caring community." Enter my moms. Helen Caudill and Terry Lieberman, who are up here on the screen. This is when, with my husband, this was when they first met him, and we were about to get married about 3 days later. Helen is the lady with short hair, and Terry's the one with the beautiful smile in the center. I call them my moms. Helen Caudill and Terry Lieberman were professors at my military college. Helen was the head of our tiny drama club, the Pegasus Players, or as it was also known, the 3rd Tactical Theater Squadron. Her partner, Terry, was our costume designer and the toughest English professor I have ever had. Helen is a science fiction geek like me. She would patiently listen to me prattle on about my theory that the X-Files was a modern retelling of the allegory of the cave. I was transfixed by her knowledge of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and her nearly encyclopedic recall of the golden age of science fiction. Terry was one of the nation's leading authorities on Anne Rice, and she could hold a salon on modern fiction at the drop of a hat. But up until this point, they had just been friends and advisors. Bonds built in the trenches of rehearsals and tech, hours and all-nighters spent in Dole Auditorium, which is where our stage resided. When I called from the hospital, Helen and Terry didn't hesitate to take me in. One phone call, and I had a bedroom for as long as I needed, and a ride to therapy each week. They hugged me when I was sad, fed me when I was hungry, listened to me when I needed to talk. Even when I moved back to campus, we met every week for a meal. When I needed somewhere to go, when school was on break, I had a home. And for someone who went through 4 divorces between 2 parents, having a home that was a safe place was the best present I could have ever received. I felt just like MJ Rodriguez, the actress, who said, "There were times when I needed to find an outlet for me to understand my people and my own journey. And I found that chosen family." Through Helen and Terry, I learned that my family was larger and stronger than I had imagined. In addition to my moms, I also gained 2 brothers who were adopted into this little family. This family, my chosen family, Helen and Terry, gave me the space to break and to grow, to change and to be supported without questioning. They also held me accountable, first to them and then ultimately to myself. They saved my life. It's due to them that I survived my junior year in college and I'm standing here with you. Hector Extravaganza once stated, "Blood does not family make. Those are relatives. Family are those with whom you share your good, bad, and ugly, and still love one another in the end. Those are the ones you select." I honor the gifts I received from Helen and Terry by trying to pay it forward, by cultivating a safe space for my kids and for others. I'm a scout leader because of them. I'm an OWL teacher because of them. I'm a stage manager because of them. So, in the spirit of Helen and Terry, I want to leave you with a poem written, as many good poems are, by Anonymous. Lend a hand to one another in the daily toil of life. When we meet a weaker brother, let us help him in the strife. There is none so rich but may in his turn be forced to borrow, and the poor man's lot today may become our own tomorrow. Thank you.
So now please stand for our chalice extinguishing, and join in reciting our community blessing with the words from David Bumbaugh. This church is dedicated to the proposition that behind all our differences and beneath all our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together in spite of time, death, and the space between the stars. We pause now in silent witness to that unity.